The current Xbox structure and ecosystem is, to put it mildly, a shadow of its former self. A far cry from the Xbox 360 and original Xbox days. But at the very least, one of the company's regional divisions is doing the Lord's work, getting indie game developers on board the Xbox ship and initiative. Throughout the past few years, the Xbox Southeast Asia team has been talking and helping out smaller studios from various Southeast Asian regions, third world countries and such, to get their games off the ground and also be part of the Xbox ecosystem. With 2 Xbox developer session features focused on Asia, unheard of games get the spotlight they deserve. In this exclusive interview, we talk to the region's Xbox Strategic Markets lead, Jun Shen Chia, about his gaming background, the Xbox Asia developer session as a whole, and the future of indie games in the region. Before we start, do subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon. We post new content every week. Enjoy the show! Okay, I guess we can start. So, Jun, what did you do before the Xbox Southeast Asia role that you have right now? Like, maybe a bit of a brief history of the life of Jun, in a sense.
Oh my goodness.
But it has to be gaming, it has to be gaming related. Not like just keep it brief, because, I got other questions too.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking that. I don't get a chance to talk about my sort of like gaming history before this, I guess, too much on interviews. But so I've got nearly 15 years of gaming experience to date, and I've sort of had the privilege of working across the entire ecosystem in various roles since the beginning of my career. So when I started out, I was a global product marketer at Razer. And so I was there for quite a number of years working on supporting many of the hardware lines that people know, like the Razer Death Adder and the Razer keyboards and the headsets. So I worked on a whole bunch of those, and I got to travel the world and do a lot of gaming events and promoting for the products. And then I was at Riot Games for a little while. I was a marketing manager there, publishing League of Legends in Singapore and Malaysia. And then just before Xbox, I was at Meta, where I worked in a gaming role, supporting mobile game companies across Asia Pacific and helping them find audiences on like platforms like Facebook and Instagrams and things like that. And then most recently, as of 2022, I joined Xbox, where I help game developers.
Perfect, that's great. Very, very good of you to keep it tight and everything. So, now, what makes a good game pitch from new game makers, since you are working with a lot of video game developers all across Southeast Asia? And of course, the obvious answer for it is because you are in Southeast Asia, so you have to focus on. There's so many countries still, come to think of it,
sure.
Like 5 or so, or 7. But what makes a good game pitch from your perspective?
All right, that's a really, really good question. In all honesty, publishing or pitching to a platform versus a publisher is a very different sort of ball game, right? For one, as a platform, our goal and intent is to really support as many developers in the ecosystem as we can. And so typically you're not necessarily pitching to us with the sort of view that, we would turn your game away. No, in actual fact, we're trying to help as many game developers as we can. The difference is obviously whether or not we support you with funding or, we support you with any additional marketing support above and beyond what we normally typically provide to most game developers. So I would say generally what's a great pitch for us is for us to have a great understanding of where you are at in the game development process. What does your game entail? How is it unique? How does it stand out from the rest of the games in potentially the same genre or the same market? And then most importantly, what are the kinds of supports you're looking for from a platform like Xbox? Because, we can provide a wide range of things and opportunities like showcase support. Like for instance, if, getting featured in the Xbox Asia developer session that, you attended last week, that's an opportunity that we provide to developers, and in other ways too. So in all up and honesty, it's really just being very clear about what you're looking for and then showing us the game that you're making.
All right, so good thing that you brought up the Xbox Asia developer session, because I would also like to find out what are the criteria for being in that show, and is it going to be like just an annual thing, or are you planning on doing it monthly or even, I guess, seasonally, because 4 months and all that? Quarterly, that's the word, quarterly. So how is that going to be structured, like this year and next year for Xbox Asia Developer Session?
To be honest, I can't really, guarantee what the Xbox Asia Developer Session is going to look like from here on out. We have now done 2 of these, the last one being last post GDC as well last year. So, it's always a good time for us post GDC to come out and talk about some of the great developers and the titles that we've been working with. And that was always the intent with these shows. The reason why we do an Asia session is because we have been growing the base of developers coming from Asia all up, and we think there's enough here to have a dedicated showcase of our own. So I would say the intent of the show has always been to put the developers front and center, show the games that they're making, and especially from a wide range of diverse creators, right? So this year we had quite a number of games from different developers from all over Southeast Asia and Korea. So that was the most important thing we want to show, the diversity. And secondly, it's really a breadth of sort of like genres and experiences that people can expect, which is why, we've got games like Agni, which looks like a really highly polished indie horror title, all the way to a really cool co-op roguelike experience with 13Z, The Mixed Trials, and then of course, something more traditional and action-oriented like Nightmare Circus. And then we also have a mecha tactics game from Kriegsrun Tactics from Toge Productions. So, it's just a breadth of experiences. And that's generally how we go into the curation process. I would say the long list was long for games that I really wanted to show, especially given that I've been supporting many, many developers from the region. So the ones that don't get in, it's a shame, but the ones that do, we're really, really proud and excited to be able to showcase their works.
So how was this selection being picked? Because you said like you got a lot of entries coming in. Like, were there any criteria? I mean, what was like the main criteria? Like, is it almost done? Is it coming out this year or so forth? Like, what are the main criteria to be in this showcase?
Right. Practically speaking, we're looking at games that are ready or near to ready to launch within the time frame of this year or really early in the next year. So that's first, and then secondly, of course, we're looking to showcase games that have Xbox Play Anywhere, right? Which is the games that are being able to be played across a wide range of devices, both on Xbox and Windows platforms. So we're really excited to show that, and then all these games and developers are really excited to participate in that all up. So we're super, super happy to be able to show that. And then last but not least, the last criteria is that they're titles from Asia. So, we have so many different creators from across the Asia region. And it just so happens that these are the ones that we picked for this showcase this time around.
Right. Yeah, I obviously saw the show. That was really good. I think I might want to play Agni, even though,
yeah,
scary game, but I did play Resident Evil back in the day, so it's fine.
Okay. To be honest, my personal take is that, and I only also recently saw that trailer, right? They were putting it together for the show, which was super exciting. But after coming off the back of something like Silent Hill F, which was such a big announcement for at a global level,
yes.
I'm super excited. We have something similar to that. From Indonesia and from the Southeast Asia region, just showing like the quality of the production of games coming out from our part of the world is really, really up leveling year on year.
Oh yeah, that's true. I also like the fact that indie games actually do horror better. I actually got more scared playing something like Amnesia compared to maybe Resident Evil 5 or 6 at the time. Yeah, I think it's just the less you see, less is more, that sort of kind of vibe, I guess. But anyway, okay, I already answered that question. Okay, there's one that you guys actually brought up a while in the email. What are Xbox's commitments to opportunities for Malaysian developers, indie developers, of course?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I would say that in our work with game developers from Malaysia and across the Southeast Asia region, our commitments remain the same. One, we want to make sure that their games find as much success as possible on our platform. This means we provide end-to-end support the moment they join Xbox as a new partner. That includes marketing, access to marketing channels and reach. So obviously, we have our social media and all our different marketing engines, including our showcases. So opportunities to participate in these things, just like the developer session that you just attended. We provide technical support, so helping make sure that their game runs incredibly well on our devices, and certification to make sure that that's the case. We also provide, last but not least, funding opportunities, right? Which is one of the core things that I love to provide to a lot of developers from Malaysia as well as across the Southeast Asia region. So this is broken up into two parts. One is the Developer Acceleration Program, which is a smaller, more concentrated fund to support underrepresented developers from underrepresented markets like Malaysia. And then we obviously have Game Pass, which is a much larger, sizable sort of fund mechanism that's supporting games that come to our service, right? With respect to Malaysia in particular, I'm happy to say that we've supported quite a number of developer acceleration program partners from Malaysia, some of which you'll see in the coming months and even coming year. Some of the ones that we recently spoke of was we have Quay from Twilight Foundry Games, which is really, really great. Control D over Hours, which is super, super awesome. It's a great studio, small team from Sarawak. And then, of course, we've also recently launched games like Gigabash from Passion Republic. And then last but not least, we had Cellar Vault Games' Third Eye Open, Paper Ghost Stories, which was published by Chorus Worldwide not too long ago. So, we've got quite a mix of games coming from Malaysia, some from the larger studios to some of the smaller, more indie ones. And we're just really happy to continue to provide that support to Malaysian devs all up, which is why I'm going to Indie Jam to see what's new and what's hot from Malaysia coming up.
Awesome stuff. I'm also kind of proud of Control D because I'm Sarawakian
Yeah.
myself.
Hey, that I
Sarawakian,
didn't know,
yes,
by the
yes.
way.
It's been
I
a
didn't
while.
realize that you were Sarawak.
I might be heading back to Kuching for
Oh my
a bit,
gosh.
for a quick break lah and everything. I actually got some paperwork I need to sort out, but yeah, next month.
Oh my
Holiday.
gosh.
Quick holiday, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Let's see, just a couple more questions. This one. This one might be a bit, how do you say, might be a bit detailed. Is like among
worries.
all the leading markets in Southeast Asia, which is kind of big in terms of like gamer populace, according to your, I guess, from your personal stats or from what you've seen so far throughout the years. Like, from my perspective, I think Indonesia has like the biggest gaming, I guess, user base per capita, but Singapore has the biggest spending per se. Like, within those criteria and contexts, who do you think is like, which country do you think is leading now, and which country do you think is going to take over in the next few years? Southeast Asia, of course.
This is a good question because we think the data is constantly in flux. So I'm gonna try to answer this as accurately and based on my observations as possible. I think the two most exciting markets with respect to the player populace is probably Thailand and Indonesia. This being that, they're highly engaged audiences that are playing a wide range of games across a wide range of devices and platforms. And they're constantly, playing the latest and coolest things. So with respect to the player base, those are the most exciting. And I think as markets in particular, they are the markets with the added layer of having a developer community that's just as engaged as their player audience, but also working hand to hand with their player audiences to uplift the ecosystem all up. What does this mean? Let me try to elaborate on that. So if you take Indonesia, for instance, over the years, we're seeing such a growth in the Indonesian games market in terms of games coming out of Indonesia from Indonesian developers. The talent is rising. And then we have events like IGDX, which is just like such a great sort of moment to showcase all the latest and greatest things coming from Indonesia. But now we're actually seeing a lot more consumer events that are homegrown by Indonesian like studios and teams, and even content creators that are also facilitating the spotlights of their own Indonesian-made games. So you got like G2G, which happens towards the end of the year, games, and then there's a lot of other ones that are happening throughout the year, and it's really awesome to see that the Indonesian game developer base is being rallied around by their own players, right? So it used to be that Toge and their games were more known overseas than they were at home, but now over time we're starting to see more local players recognize games made by local developers. Similarly, in Thailand, what we're seeing is that with the Thailand game dev community, they're doing a lot to work very closely with their player community and showing their games at like local made events. Then there's been a ton over the years, and then we're hoping and really really excited for Thailand Game Show this year, which is doing a partnership with Gamescom Asia, and so we're hoping to see such a presence from the Thailand games devs themselves, but also across from Southeast Asia.
All right, awesome. Now, probably the last question. Do you think with games now going to cost US 80 and US 100, thanks to recent news from other publishers and other predictions from companies like Take-Two Interactive, will there be more people keen on playing indie games just because they're cheaper? Or can they live side by side? Or do you think that indie games and all these small-time titles will eventually take over the platforms that you're on, especially on the Xbox side?
I don't think I'm super comfortable answering too directly about with anything related to do with what's happening in the world right now with respect to the US situation. All I can say is that with respect to the games marketplace, there's obviously a lot of things that are happening and in flux all the time, and developers and the games themselves that they're putting out are always constantly trying to find ways to get in front of their audience. So I think that more ways in which players can play these games are always going to be the answer to a lot of these things. And obviously, with respect to Xbox, we're trying to provide access all up through things like Game Pass, which provides more value with a single subscription service, but also the availability of the games being reached through multiple devices through things like Xbox Play Anywhere. So I would say that it is a ever-changing situation, and I think developers and like the developer community are always looking for ways to reach audiences, and hopefully we're providing opportunities through the Xbox platform.
All right, awesome. Just got one final tiny question. Definitely more for
Ask
your
away.
side. So 2025, lots of games coming out. Anything you're looking
Yeah.
forward to personally in the future, or anything cool that you're playing right now? Like you can talk about what you're playing right now and what you are gonna play in the future.
Actually, I just finished Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2 over the weekend, and I have to say that's probably one of the best open world sandbox RPGs I've played in my entire life. Right? I never actually played the first Kingdom Come, so for me it was like going in with fresh eyes, and I've been blown away by how the game is just like an utterly exquisite experience from start to finish. Like all the systems, all the ways in which all of it work together, and how you're just like immersed in this medieval world. It's like super amazing. I highly recommend it, and anyone who loves open world games, they should really give it a go. So Kingdom Come is one that I really loved, and I enjoyed every second of it. The other game I'm super excited for coming up is Doom, Dark Ages. I am a big Doom guy. I'm a big first person shooter guy, so I'm super excited for what they're cooking up over there. I'm just following along with everyone else when all the news comes out with respect to like all the previews and things, but I'm really excited for Doom.
Same here, actually. I'm looking forward to that one.
Hell
too.
yeah, let's go.
Cool.
I mean, I played all of the old one, the newer gen Dooms back to back like multiple times. So like I'm certain that I will play this one, with the base settings, and then like we'll crank the difficulty up, and then like change the ways in which you can play it with all the available options. I'm super excited for this Doom.
I feel like Doom is suddenly turning more and more into Quake, especially with Dark Ages because remember the first Quake was kind of in the medieval world, right?
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
Like a throwback, because id Software did make Quake, so which is cool because I did like both Doom and Quake. They offer two different things. And I feel like they're just merging together, which is pretty cool. How it turns out.
You're either playing in a medieval sandbox, or you're playing in some like post-apocalyptic future, or somewhere in the between. Like I think that's usually the palette that most of these games want to play with, especially when you're doing something super metal.
Awesome. And with that, I think we are done. Thank you so much, Jun, for this.
No, thanks, man. Like you always ask me some really interesting questions. I mean, and it felt like a speed round, but I hope I got across a lot of things that you were looking for.
Oh, you did. No problem. Thank you so much for this.
I mean, like for me, the most important thing I really want to stress and get across is that it's really about the developers, right? Like because I am very much involved with the curation process for this developer session, especially for the Asia side, and most of the developers are developers I work with personally. So for me, it's like it's such a proud moment for me to be able to give the developers a moment to like talk about their games and show off the games that I've gotten to see over the past like year and a half or however long I have been working with these developers, and being like, oh my god, the world needs to see this, the world needs to play this. Like for instance with Agni especially, like they've been cooking that in sort of like relatively like low-key fashion. Obviously with like Krieg's Front Tactics, like Toge has been doing a good job like sort of marketing that themselves, but now that it's getting closer and closer to release, I'm just happy to be able to play a part in sort of like making people see what amazing thing that game is. Yeah.